two before the one. Wisdom is water, I'm the daughter of the cannon fodder. Applied knowledge and insight, a born scholar. Look like a martyr to marauders like Tartar. Wise owl slaughter, whack MCs order applauder. Original woman, decipher the womb. Crown of creation, fruit of the planet, earth and the moon.
Peace, peace, peace. Welcome to another episode of Wise the Dome. Today I have a very special guest. Man, he's an author. He has a research team. He has a dope YouTube channel. Kofi Piesie. Appreciate you for coming through the show, bro.
Man, appreciate, man, you for having me, man. Appreciate it.
No doubt, man. So I like to, start from the beginning. What kind of sparked you on your journey, to learn your history and gain a knowledge of self and become African-centered?
That's interesting. I'm a Freemason,
Mm-hmm.
and been a Freemason, man, for about 17 to 18 years. And actually I was on Facebook and was in a Masonic group and bumped into an individual, sad to say, but I was on the thing of Moses was the one that skilled the Egyptians.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So we got on a back and forth with that. But I always been I always had an open minded. So me going back and forth with this guy, I just said, hey, look, let's just get offline. I'm gonna give you my number. And let's just chop it up over the phone, So we chopped it over the phone. So it went from us having a dialogue to me just listening to what he had to say. So he introduced me to like a lot of books. And I said, you know what, I'm gonna check these books out. So I ordered a few books and from there, man, that sparked my interest into Kemet. So first, before I got into West Africa, I got into Kemet. I got into Kemet and I wanted to learn what they call the hieroglyphs of the Sesh Meta-Neter, is what it's called. So I found Wuja. I don't know if you know Wuja.
Yeah, Wuja, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so some kind of way I bought Wuja. I bought Wuja a book, but didn't know really who Wuja was. Mm-hmm. And then I ended up finding out he had a class, so I ended up taking Wuja class. Mm-hmm. And so I took the Sesh Meta-Neter class to learn the Sesh Meta-Neter. And from there, I just sparked a more interest for Africa in general, just the dialogue that we had out off a line, after the class, because the classes was online. So after the classes, a lot of us that was in the class, we would have these dialogues and we would talk about Africa. They would talk about Africa. And, I just, would listen and continue to buy more books. And then I just one day made it, a personal interest for me to stop buying cars, rims, jewelry, and invest in books so I can invest in my mind, man. So, and from there, man, I went from being Kemet crazy to being introduced to Benjamin Injai, who y'all call Black Panther, and got introduced to him through a conference and then a show that he did. That show actually changed my whole trajectory of just looking at North Africa, looking at Kemet, and changed my studies from just studying the Sesh Meta-Neter and studying Kemet to dig into West Africa. So I began to buy books that specifically deal with West Africa and started going on. Kind of separated myself a little bit from the Sesh Meta-Neter because we had a group. We still have the YouTube channel, but we had a YouTube channel showing people in real time that we don't need the Egyptologists. We can translate and transliterate the glyphs in real time. So we created a show, Freestyle Fridays and Divine Words Wednesdays, where we will come in and transliterate and translate different steles and different glyphs from off of the wall, showing you our skill set in translating the glyphs. But I ventured off into my West African thing. I went from not YouTube, but Facebook. So I started screaming live on Facebook. Man, I'm saying probably like 3 days a week. And I did that consistently until I got the attention of Ben, which I knew Ben prior to me getting on my West African journey, all my studies, and got the attention of him. And he presented an opportunity for me to join. He said he had been watching me, and the group had been watching me for several months. And thought I said I would be a good fit for him, man. So I joined the Masi Warrior Clan in 2008. And from there, the Masi Warrior Clan, me being on it, kind of just sharpened my skills more. So I honed more on West Africa, man. And, that's where I've been ever since, man. So been studying it, man, for a while, probably for the past, Africa in general for the past 10 years, but West Africa culture, tradition, and history and language probably the past 8 years.
Oh, dope, man. Kind of makes me, like, what do you think? Because a lot of people's journey intellectually, as far as whenever they learn about Africa, starts with Kemet. I know mine did as well, and then the more you learn, you begin to learn about your direct ancestors in West and Central Africa and things of that nature. But I noticed that in doing so, right, the more we begin to gravitate towards West and Central Africa in our studies, there becomes a group of people that I feel like may take things a little bit overboard and call anybody who's studying Egypt Egyptomaniac and all of these kind of things that we see. It's still an African culture, right? Regardless to whether it's our direct ancestors or not. What do you think about like a lot of the recent talk about or people being shamed, I guess, for being into ancient Kemet and studying the culture, and that being something that they gravitate towards?
Well, man, I'll be honest with you, man. I hadn't really listened to a bunch of the conversations. I know Brother Smash, Brother Jonathan Owens. I know he had weighed in on the topic. I know Wu Jawa weighed in on the topic. Asar weighed in on the topic. Uncle Kid weighed in on the topic. Chief X weighed in on the topic. So I know, the conversation, but I just kind of try to stay out of it because everybody has their own different. Asar's position is almost the same as Wu. Smash position is different. Position is different than all of those. Chief position is different than all of those people as well. But I just never just really kept up on it. My thing is the back and forth is non-productive. And what I mean by non-productive is it takes away. The reason why I don't look at them is because once you start to engage and then you let all these other people to try to weigh in on the conversation when you dealing with something, trying to deal with something directly, you know what I'm saying? Chaos and confusion comes. So people that are actually trying to learn and understand, why one is saying this is a riparian zone, or they arguing that this is a riparian zone, and one arguing that this is the land of Black, and they going through the session meta-narrative and saying, see, this is a word for Black. They did describe themselves. This is the position that Smash was taking, and then Asar and Wu saying this is the riparian zone. This means the riparian zone, and etc. And then position a little bit different in between. But like I'm saying, I think it should be papers. It should be articles written, you know what I'm saying, to keep the confusion down instead of letting everybody on your panel, because people, once you put them on a panel and you get all these different opinions and people go to arguing back and forth, you know what I'm saying, you can't learn anything no more. Well, it's a turn off for me. Yeah. So I can't, and I'm speaking for me personally. So that's the reason why I didn't weigh in. But these positions, I mean, this is nothing new. I mean, in the next 2 years, 3 years, this same position is going to take place, because prior to that, 2000 and maybe 2018, it was the same argument. It was the same argument between Wu and Asar, but specifically Asar and what's the brother name, man? Be on Sonnet, brother Reggie.
Yeah.
So Brother Reggie, and then You know, so they took it to the ASCAP. They presented the ASCAP. It was another guy. I can't think of the elder name, but the other elder had the same position as Brother Reggie had. So, you know, with the land of the blacks. So like I'm saying, man, these arguments just gonna come back again in 2 years.
Right.
They're gonna come back. But far as somebody, I don't see nothing wrong with studying Kemet. You know what I'm saying? If you look at Kemet is one of the longest reigning empires that ever existed till this day. Right. You know what I'm saying? That empire reigned for 5,000 years. You see? You know what I'm saying? So it is the longest reigning empire, and it has a study. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? They created a whole study and a whole science behind Egypt, you know, so most of the people are in Egypt. You got the archaeologists, you got the anthropologists that are in Egypt, that's digging and finding remains and you know, finding fossils and finding other buildings of erections and stuff. So, you know, it's nothing wrong with that. You know what I'm saying? Studying an African culture. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, like I say, there's nothing wrong with that. But you do have some people that take the position that, you know, you shouldn't be studying Egypt. Your lineage is not in Egypt. And like you say, people begin to use these degrading terms, the same as the Europeans has been doing for years, using degrading terms when it comes to our culture. So now you got people that's using the word blackology. You got people using the word Egypt. I mean, Egypt. What is it? Egypt mania, Egypt maniacs, or whatever. So they're using these derogatory terms because you got Pacific brothers who specific skill set studies are in North Africa, which is in Kemet, you know, and most of the brothers that I'm talking about is Brother Wu and Brother Sar, Brother Smash Rockwell, Brother Sanjetti, who are adamantly studying the Session Meta Nature. You know, all of them had done various, you know, have done classes of teaching Kemet and trying to give people an understanding of Kemet, or the Remich is what they go by, the Remich culture.
Indeed. It kind of leads up to the next question, right? Because like I said, you know, that's still an African culture that we're dealing with, whether it's our direct ancestors or not. But in a broader sense, and dealing with how we can make something applicable to today's time, right? And whether it be in education, whether it be with how we move personally, how we raise our families. To you, what does it mean to be African-centered?
Oh man, to me, it means everything, man. I mean, we have truly lost our identity, and I feel like we're lost without being African-centered. We are doing stuff outside of the norm. We're teaching our children a different perspective, a Eurocentric perspective or Arab perspective, you know what I'm saying? And I feel like that being African-centered, and what I mean African-centered is if we attach ourselves to the culture, you know what I'm saying? I believe that we can move forward if we do that. And by that, what I mean is you got certain elements within the culture, right? Like the rites of passage. The rites of passage to me are very important. The rites of passages, you know what I'm saying? One, when you look at the rites of passage, you look at the naming rites of passage. A lot of times, many people will have multiple names, but those names are reflecting their destiny. So their name, they have to live up to their names, you know? So not only that, then you got the adult right. The adult right is now you got the women and the women who are separated from society, and now they are going off into exile, or they're going off into wilderness by themselves, and they're being teaching certain things. They're being teaching certain things about history, you know what I'm saying, about their culture, history, their culture. They're being taught certain things about what a man's supposed to do, what a woman is supposed to be, you know, what a woman is basically supposed to be going through. They supposed to be going through tribulations, you know what I'm saying? So when those things happen, they know how to deal with those types of things, you know what I'm saying? They're teaching them how to be proper adults and facilitating them that, you know, man is supposed to be woman, and how important how a family unit is supposed to be, you know, not only with the adults' rights, because we think now that in this culture that once our children turn 18, they just the grown gene just automatically turn on.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So, but now, and even with those rites of passages, and I can keep going through the rites of passages, it's like different levels of thought. Mm-hmm. Each rites of passage, you gain more information. It's like you're graduating from one, because even when you be initiated and you go through those rites of passages, and you come back after being exiled or away from the community for a while. When you come back, the community greets you, and they greet you as a young man. Now, you looked at as a young man. You're not looked at as an adolescent. You're not looked at as a young male or a young female anymore. But still, you have to go. There's different stages through adults. So you have to go through something else later on till you get to the elder rite. You know what I'm saying? So when you can't be an elder unless you meet all those criteria as going through those rites of passage as an adult. And then you can become an elder within the community. You know what I'm saying? And there's certain criteria that take, you know, being an elder. That's why I don't and that too, we can look at elders, because I look at elders if they don't meet certain criteria from an African perspective. You know what I'm saying? I don't look at them as elders. They say they are older, so I call them elders and not elders. I don't have to respect the older, but I have to respect the elder. Right. But an elder have to reach certain criteria, you know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. And a lot of it has to do with, you know, with good character. And that's another thing that takes place within African culture. It is cultivating, or it's building character. And I know in science, you know, science says through certain evolutions and something, you know, you get the Homo sapiens sapien, the human being, right? But in African culture, in order to be a person or personhood or a human, you have to reach the highest thing of humanitarian. So so that comes with building character. That comes with cultivating your character. And in the Yoruba culture, it's called Iwariri, or you know, gentle character. You know what I'm saying? Or a gentle character is Iwapele. Iwariri is good character. So one must have good character. And when we understand, once we develop and cultivate that good character, then we can build and we can trust each other. Because now I don't have to walk by you and not think that that's not good character to not acknowledge someone else's existence. So we walk by people and don't even acknowledge their existence. You know what I'm saying? We don't, you know what I'm saying? We don't even treat other people with kindness. We throw respect out the door, because now we want to always little boy or get one up on each other, or try to scheme one another. So good character comes with so many different characteristics. So if we was African-centered, we would understand these types of things that deals in our culture, that builds us, that cultivates our character, that builds our character one another. And then we can understand that six hands is better than two hands. You know what I'm saying? Unification is the key. But now we don't practice communalism. You know what I'm saying? Tribalism. You know what I'm saying? We practice individualism. That is not our culture. Practice individualism. So African-centered, you know what I'm saying, is very, very important, because again, we are practicing someone else's culture. That's why we disrespect our women as well. You know what I'm saying? We held in African culture, we held our women to the highest regards. She births all nations. She births all civilizations. You know what I'm saying? All life come through the womb of a woman. You know what I'm saying? But, you know, from their culture, you know what I'm saying, their thing is God is above man and man is above woman. You know what I'm saying?
Right,
So
right. And yeah, that's real, man. Also, man, congratulations on the new book, Africa's Hair. Everybody, make sure you cop this. Make sure you cop this book. Um, Africa's Hair, before, during, and after slavery. What was your inspiration to write this book?
man, well, actually, I've been doing this study for, man, I'm gonna say about 5 years.
Mhm.
I don't know if I did a presentation first, because before I started writing books, I started writing articles first.
Mhm.
And I don't know if, no, I did the presentation first. I did a small presentation on my channel, and then I turned around and then I wrote an article, and then I met a sister, Sister Ladosha, who has a library in Gambia. So some of our books from the Kofi Piesie research team, some of our volumes are, two of our volumes are in Gambia. And they are in the library in the schools, the Gaia Journal Skills Academy that they have in Gambia. But I met this sister through Kevin Chill, and she was an instructor where she taught the students in Gambia online every week. So we built a relationship, and she actually helped us build a relationship with Fatu Sangay, who is the owner and operator of those schools in Gambia. So she began to put on numerous shows where she would invite me on these shows with other professionals in the field of hair and certain things. And so she kind of like re-sparked my interest, because I had been wrote these articles about 4 or 5 articles and did a thing about 4 or 5 years ago. And then she put me in a documentary. She has a documentary that came out in December, but it's supposed to, no, it came out in December, but it's supposed to came out, I think, in like October. So she had been filming it for about a year, and she created a show to promote the documentary coming out, The Dumbest Shit That Black Folks Say About Hair. And she has a podcast, a powerful podcast, her and this other sister. And so I will begin to listen to their podcast every Monday, begin to listen to their podcast. And then she asking me for, bringing me on for certain, for my expertise on certain things. And then when she put me in a documentary just inspired me. And I said, I got to write this book. Right. So I wanted to surprise her and surprise everybody. I said, okay, I got 5 years worth of research that I just got, far as books, far as notes I took, far as articles that I had. So I just pulled a lot of those articles that I had, a lot of the books. I went and took them off the shelf. Did a little bit more research on some other things, man. And then I began to start working on the book back after I put out. Well, actually, I started working on this book and I put it down. Was working on it, but I ended up putting out a book about 7 months called The Mandingo Theory, the castrations of Africans in the sixth grade conceptualization. And after I finished that, I went back and finished this book, because my initial goal was to have the book out simultaneously with the documentary. But it didn't work out like that, because I wanted to send the book to some professionals who are licensed and who are in field, as far as people who do hair, people, instructors, teachers, barber instructors, etc., and some of my comrades to look at the book as well, before I actually put the book out. So I halted on that till I got some feedback from everyone. And then after I got, some feedback, I went on ahead and said it's time to go ahead and publish the book.
Why do you think hair is so important to African people?
Man, hair means so many different things. You know what I'm saying? Hair is, okay, everybody use the words African spirituality. Everybody use the word African traditional religion, or you hear them say ATRs, right? So I try to stay away from those words, even though, I look up to my brother, Black Panther, and we published his book through my Same Tree Different Branch publishing company, African Spirituality. But he's moving away from that word as well. So I wrote a book almost 2 years ago called Beautiful Lessons About Kimoyo. And Kimoyo is a better term that fits what African culture, traditions, or African way of life is, and so I try to get away from those words, African spirituality and African traditional religion, especially African traditional religion, because we have no agency over that word. A European created that word, but then we had John Mbiti, and we had another brother from Kenya who took on that word and made it popular and got it in the academic. They were the one that got it in the academia realm. So, but we have no agency over those words. So I said, let's use something that better describes it. Something that, and that word kimoyo comes from out of the Congo. And so, dang, I lost my train of thought.
It's all good. About African hair. Why is it so important?
Okay, yeah. So with the beautiful lessons about kimoyo, in that book, I talk about the different elements that make up kimoyo. Rites of passages, rituals, sacrifice, mass, venerating the ancestors, pouring libations, oral traditions. But I didn't talk about hair in the book. But all those things I named are elements of kimoyo, or what people say African spirituality or African, because it's connected to our spirituality. Our ancestors believed that the highest point on the head is your hair. The head controls the whole body. So they believe that the soul rested inside the hair, and that they could communicate to the supreme deities or to the deities, because in African culture you have the supreme deity and then you have the lesser deities. So in that sense, I don't care where you look at, you're gonna always have the supreme deities and you're gonna have the lesser deities, right? And a lot of people know about the orishas. The orishas are the lesser deities. You know what I'm saying? So but they believe that through that they could communicate through the hair, and not only they could communicate through the hair, even through birth and death, that once one is born, they cuts off the hair to the newborn, so that the spirit can come from the spiritual world into the world of the living. And then when one dies, they shave the hair, so now that the spirit can transition from the living world back into the spiritual world. So it also was connected to that spirituality. But not only just connected to the spirituality, you know what I'm saying, hair meant multiple things. You know what I'm saying? One may wear his hair, you may distinguish him as, okay, he's a part of the Kikuyu tribe, you know what I'm saying, instead of the Himba tribe, you know what I'm saying, by the hairstyle. You may know one with a hairdo that may be of royal status, you know what I'm saying, by a certain hairstyle they have. You may see one who is you can tell by their age that they have not went through their rites of passage and been recognized as an adult. When you look at the Himba people, you look at the young female who has her hair covered over her face, right? This distinguishes that she is not a young woman yet. And then when she becomes a young woman, she's single and interested in being married. Now her hair is pulled to the back. Her locks are pulled to the back. Now one may know now that, okay, that she's an adult and she's single and ready to be married. And then, and the same thing is, with the male. The male wear a ponytail on the right side of his head or in the middle side of his head. And this same ponytail or lock that the Egyptologists call the Haru lock, you will see this on the walls of Kemet. This will signify that the child is an heir to Haru, right? But you see that same style that's in North Africa, you see that same style in South Africa, and but that would distinguish that this is a young male, you know what I'm saying? So you would know that this child is still an adolescent boy. He has not reached manhood yet. He has not went through the initiation of the rites of passage yet. So, or, and marriage, you can notice one may be a priest through a hairstyle. One may be an executioner through a hairstyle. You know what I'm saying? You may notice by a different hairstyle a certain person's occupation within the community by a hairstyle. So hair meant multiples, and the same thing now to socialize. We do that now when we go to the barber shops. Women do that when they go to the hair salons. It was a form of socializing, getting together, what I'm saying, fellowshipping and socializing with one another.
Right. Now, do you like so? Do you see? So okay, and so like in the book, it talks about before, during, and after. Um, what would you say some of the differences are? You know what I mean? Without giving away too much, so because we want people to buy the book. But like, how did slavery change some of that, or did it?
Oh yes, most definitely. It changed the whole thing because it changed our whole perception of our hair and the way that we look. It actually destroyed our image altogether, right? Because we took pride. We took pride in grooming ourselves. You know what I'm saying? We took pride in our looks. But the misconception is, or what people will tell you, that Africans were dirty. Africans didn't groom their hair, right? You know what I'm saying? Didn't take care of themselves. But that's a misconception. That is false. So, and we're not giving away a lot of stuff in the book, but just okay, one of the Dutch explorers who came into Africa during the 15th century. Doing the trading, we know that Europeans traded with Africans prior to them wanting free labor and kidnapping them for free labor, right? So they began to see how they took pride in their hair and the different hairstyles. And one of the Dutch explorers, which his name is escaping my mind right now, when he wrote his book, he had someone to sketch the multiple hairstyles that they had, so they knew how important it was for them to have the hairstyle. So through slavery, some of the slave owners would shave off their hair because they knew how connected they were with their hair. Because not only they wore it in different styles, they wore hair for clothes. They wore like wigs. We think wigs is new. We know our women and stuff like wearing the wigs, but wigs that was centuries ago. When during the morning, doing someone mourning, if someone was kin to you, and it's just in certain cultures, and it's some where let's just say we look at we look at West Africa. Woman who would mourn, she would shave her hair off, and after her mourning stages, however long that would be, she would take that hair and they would make a wig out of it and wear it. And the children who, when I told you, when children are born in certain cultures, they would shave their hair so the spirit can. So they would take that hair, and the medicine men would use those for healing tonics, or they would use the hair as for protection. So they would make some type of protection amulet with the hair. Hair was very important. So now they see all these things, and we get to slavery. They begin to shave the hair off. Shave the hair off the slaves.
Right.
Shave the hair off.
You know what that kind of reminds me of? Not to cut you off, because I want you to definitely keep going. Is how in Southern hoodoo practices, you're not supposed to throw your hair away, or like when you cut your hair in the house, or woman cut her hair or something, because that hair could be something that, like conjurers and root workers could actually do something with. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, continue, because I think that's really we don't think about that aspect of slavery when it comes to our identity. And obviously we had no agency over ourselves and what we decided to do, right? Even though we still in a lot of cases snuck and did things, but hair is something that everybody sees whenever they see you. And I never really thought about that aspect of how that could be used to demean the African who was enslaved, and clearly it was.
Yes, sir. It definitely was, man. And through that process, them shaving the hair, you know, they began to talk about, you know, the comparing their hair to sheep. You know what I'm saying? So I say the other N word. You know, so I say the other N word in the book, and I started that in my articles when I wrote the article about 4 or 5 years ago. The N word, stop saying, and I think that was somewhat of the name of the article. And I knew when people looked at it, they probably thought I was talking about the nigger word. You know what I'm saying? But I was talking about the word nappy, which nappy, you know, we have took that same word and we have
we have used it to further the self-hate that was put on us.
Right. So, you know, and I don't care how you put it up and whatever you say with it, I try to embrace it. I don't like it. I don't, you know, so, but yeah, so now you begin to this derogatory term nappy start to take place. Hair is unattractive. So, you know, your skin is unattractive. And now when one has to come into the slave owner's house, you know what I'm saying? The slave owner wife will, you know, would also talk about the woman or the male coming through about their hair being unattractive in skin. So this process just destroyed our image altogether. And when one come into the house, she had to have her head wrapped or she had to straighten her hair just like the slave owner wife was to say that she was presentable. This was the standard to look like this, right? So now they started to condition that this is the image that we should have, that your image or the way that your hair coiled and this certain coil, the spiral was a certain type of way, you know what I'm saying, is ugly, you know what I'm saying, or your hair is it's like wool, you know, when you start talking about the word nappy, you know, and then they begin to certain things that they use that I talk about in the book that they used in nature. They no longer had these things to take care of their hair. You know what I'm saying? They was washing their hair and whipping their hair with stuff, man, that you can light heaters with, dog.
So that's one of the things that chapter there is like we were going to get to that anyway, but since you brought it up, I thought that was really interesting. And if you can, I want you to explain some the chapter that talks about nature's hair care products, right? What does that mean for those, you know, because they're going to buy the book, right? So, well, if you can give a preview of what that means and what that meant as far as the hair products we use, the natural hair products that we used, you know, in the past.
You know, some of those things that I named we actually use today. I'll give you Chiba, the Chiba plant. When one of the misconceptions about natural hair is that natural hair is dirty and then natural hair cannot grow long, right? So, and you look into the beauty and hair care industry, they have in a lot of their hair growing products, they have one element in there, and it's the Chiba plant. And you know they're in a few places in West Africa, but let's speak about Chad, the Basara people. So the Basara people, the Basara women, their hair, I'm talking about, is all the way down their butts. And they use this Sheba plant, you know what I'm saying? And they saying that their deity blessed them on the hill with this certain plant that they use. And it's a certain method that they go through that I talk about that they do in order to get the results, you know, that they rub and massage this stuff into their hair in order for their hair to go. So the Chiba plant is one of them. We think dyeing hair, you know, I've been dyeing my hair for years. So dyeing hair, you know what I'm saying? Ochre, it's a clay. It's like a reddish orange clay that they use. This was another thing that they used to dye hair with.
And would you say that was less damaging to the hair than what these new products are, like these mainstream products that you get in the store?
Yes. You know, a lot of these stuff, you know, they use things that straighten the hair, like cow urine and ashes that they would use to straighten the hair. They would use it to straighten the hair out so they can braid it, you know what I'm saying, precisely, you know what I'm saying? So those are some of the things. There are multiple things that I talk about in the book, you know, as far as that they retrieve and some of the things that they had to settle for once they got into slavery because they had no access to the things that they had in nature, even extensions. You know what I'm saying? We think extensions, girl, let me go and get these extensions put in my head. They think this is something new. This is a new phenomenon that started in the 21st century. No, they've been doing these things. You know, like I'm saying, if you look back, going back to the Himba people, you know what I'm saying? They use extensions in their hair. They use sheep hair and other animal hairs to make extensions for, you know what I'm saying, for the hair. So a lot of the things that we're doing today, our ancestors been doing for centuries. You know, even with the braiding of the hair. The braiding of the hair, a lot of people think that braiding of the hair came from out of slavery. They was actually braiding their hair in Africa way before they was encountered by the European. But braiding hair became synonymous with slavery because I mean that was something that they could just do to try to maintain the hair without combing because they was using stuff that's I can't think of this tool that they was use to brush the animals with, man, and it was pulling their hair out. They had a lot of stuff that they had to use, so they was using cooking grease and butter to, you know, to lay the hair down, you know, using this sheep brush to try to brush their hair, pulling their hair out. So, you know, the best method was to try to braid it or cover the hair, you know, to cover the hair up.
Indeed. What kind of products did Madam C.J. Walker come up with?
Man, well, she, you know, I didn't get too far into the basics of what all of the stuff that she had because, but she's, you know, the story was that she had a vision, you know what I'm saying, and she went to Africa, and even when you look at her story, it doesn't tell, because I done read multiple books on Madam C.J. Walker and a few articles on Madam C.J. Walker, and it never really goes too specific on what she went or what she got from Africa, because she's saying some of her stuff that she utilized came from Africa. But you say some people say that she took some things from the other sister that I also talk about, you know, in the book. But you know, some of her stuff was to help her hair grow, because when you look at this, when you read about Madam C.J. Walker, she got into it because of the patches that, you know, her hair was falling out, you know what I'm saying? And then she got up under the tutelary of the other sister that I talk about in the book, you know what I'm saying, which she don't get that much shine. And boy, that lady, and I talked about her first before I even talked about Madam C.J. Walker, and and I'm tired, and her name is just escaping me.
Hold on.
Dang. I'm sorry, y'all. I'm tired. I can't remember her name.
Brother. Hold on. Is it Anna Malone?
Yeah, and I done a whole presentation on this sister, bro. I got a whole presentation.
I know how it go, man. Yeah. I know how it go.
Anna Malone.
So, yeah, everybody, man, definitely go and get this book. It covers a lot, and it's been put together dope. It's a topic, you know, that we don't really discuss often. I know you have, well, actually, on your YouTube channel, Kofi Piesie TV, you have a segment called Warrior Scholars, and I've had the honor and pleasure to be on there, and I definitely appreciate that. Definitely a big fan of your show. So now that I have you on my show, right, I gotta ask you, who are some of your favorite Warrior Scholars?
Oh man, okay. I'll name the people who actually impacted my life. John Henry Clark, Dr. Ben was another one. Asa Hilliard was another. Sheikh Anta Diop was another one. Chancellor Williams, definitely, you know what I'm saying, another that his book, Destruction of Black Civilization, man, was one of my favorite reads, man. So those I can say were the ones who actually changed my whole life, my worldview, my perspective when I started digging into these books and reading these books had a great impact over my life. Some of the ones that current today, I'll say, even though he only published one book, but Brother Smash Rockwell, you know, everybody know him as the Magi, Jonathan Owens, the Handbook for the Conscious Community. That's one of my favorite books. Sar book. Man, he got so many of them out. I can't think of the one before the recent one that he put out. He put it out in 2016. That was my favorite. I know it was in 2016. That was my favorite book in 2016. But A Brother Asar is one. Baba Imhotep is another one. You know Baba Imhotep?
Yes.
Yes. Man, I like his style of writing. I like Baba Imhotep. Man, who else? You know,
yeah,
my team.
Yeah,
my
for
team,
sure.
my team. Yeah.
What is in today's time with, you know, everything that Black people are going through and oppressed people all over the world, right? Why is it important to be, you know, serious with your studies as a young Black man or young Black woman in America? Why is it important for us to continue to buy these books and continue to educate ourselves about who we are?
Man, because it's going to empower you. Yes, it's gonna empower you. It's gonna make you aware. That's all conscious is being aware of your surroundings. And you know, once we get and we dig into who we are, because through the school system or the food system, man, whether we know it or not, you know what I'm saying, it is not empowering us, man. It's empowering us to go and work for somebody else. It's empowering us that we didn't do nothing for civilization, but the Greeks and the Romans and etc. They did all these great things that they contributed, and we made no contributions to the world. So through those studies, it lower our children's self-esteem, you know what I'm saying? And they become young adults with young self-esteem, with low self-esteem, you know what I'm saying? And they make some of the same mistakes that, you know, over and over and over, because they don't know truly who they are. They don't know that the contributions that they're made. They don't know that when you think of, because when I mention scientists, people, most of us will think of white men and white jackets, long white jackets. But I don't, you know, when I think of that, or I think of intelligence, I don't think of Europeans, even though that was shoved in our face and pushed in our face, you know, through our school, and not only through our school, through the religion. You know, you go to grandmama's house, you go, you know, she got white Jesus hanging up on the wall. You know what I'm saying? Or you go to some of these Black churches, they got white mirrors of the Archangel Michael, and you know, they got all these other biblical characters in white. So we're being conditioned that, okay, man, all these godly figures and all these people who contribute to society didn't look like us. So once we get into the studies and we look at it and say, oh, okay, we were here first. We created this, that, and the third. Okay. Well, we did contribute some of these things. So if my ancestor did these things, I can do the same thing. You know what I'm saying? I can do these same things. So now it's empowering me, and it's inspiring me now, because now I'm reading material of stuff of people who look like me that made major contributions to the world that I had no clue about. So now it's empowering me, and now it's empowering me to go and empower my family. And I'm speaking from me. it took me and it empowered me to come up and do the same thing for as now I have to share this information with other people.
Right,
So I created the phrase, as I learn, we all learn, which is a spin-off from each one, teach one, So I made it my duty, to share this information so I can empower some of my people. It may not empower everybody to tune in and watch the shows on Kofi Piesie TV or on Mossy Warrior Clan, but it may empower a few, where those few may be able to share this information, get their studies up and then empower their family, and it trickle down. So it's very important, when we talk about liberating our people, like I'm saying, now it makes us aware of things. So now we know what to watch out for. Now we know not to fall for the okie doke anymore. Now we have our mindsets can change where, okay, now we can be entrepreneurs as well. We can be entrepreneurs. We can own things. We can own things as well. We are smart and intelligent, just like anybody else is smart and intelligent. We can set up our own government, our own structure that benefits us. We can do all these things. What I'm saying? So these things the studies can definitely impact your life, empower your life, and change your community. You know what I'm saying? Some of the values that we have, because we no longer have those values, those morals, and those edicts anymore. We have forgot a lot of those different things. Some of those things we don't have to have in practice today because they are outdated, but some of those things are definitely still relevant into the 21st century that I think that could push us collectively forward. You know what I'm saying?
Do you think that is the motivation behind all these southern states with these book bans?
Oh, for sure. For sure. I mean, yes, they doing everything, man, in their power to stop this, because it's very noticeable now. At first, it wasn't noticeable, but it's noticeable.
It's out in the open.
It's out in the open, brother. We are aware. We not falling for none of it. You got too many smart Negroes right now, and we have to put a stop in it. We have to take certain books out of the school system. We got to stop talking about certain things. We got to do ban these books across the states. You know what I'm saying? We got to start implementing certain other strategies within the school system. You know what I'm saying? And within the states, because if we don't, it's going to be a problem.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? It's definitely going to be a problem.
And I think they, like, whenever they saw the reaction to the George Floyd and Breonna Taylor murders, right? When they saw the reaction where it was a lot of, obviously, Black people were holding the line. We were the ones that started this off, right? But I think they didn't expect that. I think they didn't expect the people from other races to be involved like they were, which I think they're like, nah, well, we got to put a stop to learning about, we got to put a stop to teaching this type of history in school for two reasons. Obviously, we don't want to give African people any type of inspiration to want to begin to take agency over their own lives and question our institutions, such as, the religious institutions of America, capitalism, imperialism, and begin to question these things. Well, they don't want young white kids to do that either. Right? You know what I'm saying? Because this is how empires crumble, whenever they're made aware of how that empire is actually running. And over time, obviously, it's not anything that they can stop. I would say this is just prolonging it, due to the fact that this is happening, though, and it is a real thing that's going to affect a lot of families. You had Brother Paul Scott on your show he's out here passing out books, to the neighborhood. What are some ways in real time we can, I guess, combat the establishment, making it harder for our children to learn about their history and learn about institutional racism and oppression and things of that nature? What are some things that you think we can do? Because I mean, it's serious. Because when I think about it, every every child, every Black child doesn't necessarily have a parent in the household that can teach them these things, right? And it's not a knock on any. Some may not know. Some may work and work and work to be able to, pay rent and feed the family. Because obviously we live in a society now where cost of living keeps going up, but wages ain't going up, which is another thing that you add that into the pot, right? And you have people of all races that's going to eventually be pissed, but keeping it with our children and our communities. What are some things that we can do in order to, I guess, combat the institution and their fight against our children's education?
Programs. We need programs in the community, man. I have just started something called the Ubuntu Youth Foundation,
Mm-hmm.
and it's dealing with kids. I actually started I got a bunch of studio equipment, so I started the Ubuntu music first, and this was a program just, kids, we are musically inclined, we love music,
Mm-hmm.
a lot of us wake up, we listen to music, we get in the cars, we listen to music, we on the job, and we able to have, headphones, we listen to music. I mean, so we, in some form of fashion, we always listen to music. So
Mm-hmm.
this program I was going to utilize for teaching the kids the program on how to play keys.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
How to use the MPC, how to record, how to arrange vocals, how to write a 16 verse, a chorus, eight bar verse, how to mix music down. I can't master, but I got a guy who went to school for mastering, was gonna come show them how to master. So this can be a skill set that I can teach them that they can learn, and then
they can use and make money with.
They can use it exactly. But then I thought about the other things as far as like the educational part. So I said, okay, let me go and create the Ubuntu Youth Foundation, because I tried to start a program when I first moved back here with a bunch of Black men, and it fell through. We met and met and met, and when we got ready to start to put the work in, everybody started making excuses, and it fell through,
Yeah.
And but the programs, we need to develop more programs for the kids where we can teach our kids about the contributions that their ancestors made. Teach them about politics, what I'm saying? Teach them political science. Yep. You know what I'm saying?
And the history of our own freedom fighters.
Yeah, our history of it, right? The history of our own freedom fighters. You know what I'm saying? The great people who stood up and fought for, fought for our civil rights. You know what I'm saying? The people who made major contributions here, as well as what our ancestors did in Africa, in the Caribbean, and also in in South America. So, these programs where you got history, where you teaching them political science, you teaching them about financial literacy, you teaching them about adulthood, you know what I'm saying? Adulthood. So those programs are very important. So we have to get in there early and develop these programs and rally behind our children. You know what I'm saying? Take them off to on trips, because that's
Yeah.
what we're gonna end up doing, taking them on trips, let them seeing something, the stuff that they're actually reading, let them see some of these stuff verbatim. You know what I'm saying? When we talk about Martin Luther King or we talk about Malcolm X, like, we're gonna take the kids to Memphis. Memphis is
Yeah.
about,
To the Lorraine Motel.
to the
Yeah.
Lorraine Motel down there, take them down there and look, so it's
See, that kind of
lots of
stuff is powerful, man, and
yes.
that stuff like that could change the trajectory of our children's lives. You know what I'm saying? And so I definitely salute you for that. But it kind of, so we have on one side the institution, white folks fighting against Black people having the ability to learn against them, to learn about themselves, right? But then on this other side, we have a new movement of Black people who call themselves conscious, who are making a living spitting misinformation to the community. When it comes to, first off, because we know what it does on the side of the European, right? As far we know what effects that has. What do you think the effect is on those who look like us, who are teaching these doctrines that, we're not African, that are teaching, all of these different things that are harmful, especially to those who are new to studying about themselves and are new to learning, and because in that beginning stage, before you understand how to vet sources, before you understand how to do all of that stuff, right? Like you're a sponge to everything.
Yes.
So how do you think that what they're doing, what the Black folks who are have on these platforms, spewing this misinformation, especially that we aren't of African descent. How do you think that is affecting the community?
Oh man, it's affecting us the same way that it's affecting them. I mean, because we're taking on somebody else's identity and somebody else's cultural practices, right? So now we're looking in and we're not only taking on the identities of those others cultures, but now we mixing it in and we're saying that it's African. So now you got people talking about chakras, right? That so that's Hindu. That's Hinduism, right? You know what I'm saying? So Hinduism has nothing to do with African culture and tradition. That's so Buddhism, people start mentioning Buddhism or Shintoism in and saying that this is African culture, you know what I'm saying? But now we got chakras, we got stones, we got flat earthers, we Native Americans, because that's the popular thing that's going on right now is the Native Americans. And but we want to be everything but African, you know what I'm saying? Everything but African. So we're attaching ourselves to these other identities where now we're becoming anti-African. And then when we speak of anything about our own heritage and our own culture, we have a distaste for it. We have a disdain look on our face when someone else is talking about it. And now you're talking about, you know what I'm saying? I tell people, man, you're talking about your mother every day. You're talking about your grandfather every day. You know what I'm saying? And we just want to attach ourselves with everything else but Africa. And it's no excuse now for us not to know who we are, because we have information at our fingertips now. You know what I'm saying? Our parents, you know what I'm saying, they didn't have it. They didn't have online bookstores. They didn't have multiple Black-owned books, bookstores. And that some of our parents or grandparents ain't too far removed from slavery, and even transitioning out of being emancipated, it was still against the law for Blacks to even read and write. You know what I'm saying? So they had an excuse. They didn't have these resources that we have. So we have these resources, so we don't have to be misled, but it goes back to us being lazy. Like a lot of us are definitely lazy. So
intellectually,
right, intellectual lazy. So it's good if I can cut on my laptop or cut on my phone, flip to the camera, go live, and I can talk about some stuff as long as I sound and
as long
speak
as you're
with proper
charismatic,
right, and charismatic and speak like I know what I'm talking about, then people buy into that. Because what happened is this: they take the religious paradigm into the conscious community.
Yes.
So, and what I mean by that is most, like down here, I'm from Mississippi. So in the South, this is the Bible Belt, right? So majority of the Black people in the South, right, or just say in Mississippi, are Christians. So when you speak to most of them, they tell you, my pastor said, my pastor said. So the pastor is delivering the word from God. He's being charismatic. He's speaking with proper rhetoric. He's speaking like he knows what he's talking about. And then they take that and regurgitate that information because he sounds like he know what he's talking about, or he's inspired by God.
Instead of go reading that for himself.
Right. You know what I'm saying? And the book even tells you our people have been destroyed for a lack of knowledge. You know what I'm saying? So we're not going and seeking, you know what I'm saying, or we're not going to verify. So we take that same conditioning, that religion's conditioning that we had, that all we have to do is listen to someone speak, and then we can regurgitate what we said. My pastor said, my pastor said. So we take that same thing into the conscious community. So now your pastor become the person behind the camera. So once he speak with proper rhetoric and charismatic, and he can hold the attention of those who are looking or who are engaged on the other side of the camera, they do the same thing. They become his pastor and they regurgitate this same dangerous information without going to verify this information and seeing if it's what is it going to hold up. You see what I'm saying? So they bringing that same mindset over into the conscious community. You know what I'm saying? Because religion, in my perspective, it has made us lazy and it has made us crazy.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So we take that same thing over, over there. You know what I'm saying? And then we're not understanding about what proper research is, because you said something a while ago about when we first coming in, we like a sponge. We listen to everything. I fell victim to that. When I first I came into a bar, I was pseudo bro. But I was trying. I'm just, I didn't know. I'm just listening. I'm just grabbing.
But you studied your way out of it. You know what I'm saying?
I studied, right. I studied my way out of it, and I understand. And then when I understood what proper research methodology was, or what methodology was, that was a game changer for me. You know what I'm saying? So, and a lot of people that were my heroes were no longer my heroes, because now I know that you are pushing misinformation. Now I know how to go and verify and comb through those sources that you had, and vent those sources and see, right? Is it going to hold up? You know what I'm saying? So now my heroes become my zeros. I'm no longer following because they pushing something that, that's anti-African. You know what I'm saying? I say anything that we're practicing that has nothing to do with our heritage, you know what I'm saying, it's anti. You know what I'm saying? So, it's very dangerous for those guys. And then those guys even are not even genuine, because now, and I'm going to tell you something. A lot of these guys that you said that are making money, bruh, they know better.
Yeah.
But they just like the preachers. I know some preachers that know better, but they make a living, bro. They don't have to, they make a living. They don't have to go on nobody's job. They got a building. They get paid to talk, right? They get tax exempt where they don't have to pay any taxes, right? They can buy things and get tax exempt long as they use, because it's a nonprofit. So they, so they know better, but it's a hustle for them. So these same individuals that's over here, some of them know better, but but the misinformation is more appeasing to our people. So they take advantage of our people. you know what I'm saying,
Mm-hmm.
just to inline their pockets. And it goes back to individualism. They don't care nothing. They say they for the people, but they ain't for the people. They for their pocket. They for their pocket.
Yeah. No, that's real. That's real. Last thing I want to ask you, man. What are your thoughts on, because all right, I'll preface it this way. Pan-Africanism, right? It's not the idea that the continent and the diaspora has to think the same, right? That'll never happen. We're not monolithic people, but it is the idea that our struggles can be connected and our fight for liberation can be connected. We are fighting, obviously, a power that has helped to colonize the entire world, right? We are not talking about like some little bitty entity here. To me, it's more than apparent that the only way we can liberate ourselves is if we liberate ourselves together. But recently, there have been a movement that seems to be hell-bent on attacking Pan-Africanism. What are your thoughts on that?
Man, yeah, it's I mean, it's heartbreaking to me, but I did and see, that's the thing with me. Like I respond when some of these things come out. I respond like with books. I respond with books, because even with the thing about the Native American thing, you know, one of the volumes I put out, I wrote about the Native Americans and the whole thing about the Native American and why we think we Native American and all that stuff. But I did a show. Man, it's been maybe last year. It's Pan-African pseudo, because people was attacking Pan-Africanism and then they were saying that it was pseudo, right?
Hey, so that doesn't even make sense though. Like
so you know, and man, I seen it, like, and then you know, I seen a conversation about it, man. I was like, you know what? You know, I'm not gonna go back and forth with nobody on the internet. You know, on Instagram or Facebook. I'm not gonna go back and forth. I mean, even if I'm on somebody's platform, you know, when people go back and forth, fussing and hollering at each other, I don't even engage in it. So I say, you know, if it's something, you know, worthy of my time, I respond by writing an article, writing a book, or putting a presentation together on and just putting it out there. So I put together a presentation about Pan-Africanism, you know, and is Pan-Africanism pseudo? You know, so I talked about, you know, the importance of Pan-Africanism, how Pan-African was started. People were saying Pan-African just over here in the United States.
Right.
It's dumb. It's, and you know that, and that's why I don't like to engage with people, because when people make dumb comments, I already know that they don't know no better. They not well studied on the matter, so it don't matter what I say to them. They not gonna you know. So it just I'm not gonna even waste my time. But you know, Pan-Africanism, man, is very important, because, you know, the system that you mentioned when we talk about Europeans, but we don't talk about the Arabs as much. We know the Europeans done as much, you know, done the most damage, but we know Arabs done some damage, but we give them a pass. You know, we don't talk about but the Arabs and the European, but especially the European when we talk about the power, because they done raised hell from every corner of the earth. From every corner of the earth. So, you know, if we can, and if Pan-Africanism is an ideal of unifying Africans worldwide, you know, Pan means all, right? So it means to unify all Africans worldwide, because, man, we all have the same ills, right? You know, socially, politically, and economically. I don't care what part of we all treat. I don't care if you go over there to Brazil right now, some black folks over the same thing, right? You go to Jamaica, it's the same thing. You go to Togo, it's the same thing. You come over here and go to Michigan, it's the same thing. So we are suffering. We have the same plights, right? So if we unify and if we strategize, you know what I'm saying, then we can begin to correct some of the situations we in. But again, when you say African-centered, right? We're talking about the cultural ideals when it comes to our moral principles and edicts and ethics, you know what I'm saying, on how we treat each other. So we have lost those types of things, and then now we everything else but African. So and now it's no longer about communalism or tribalism. Again, it's about individualism, or it's still individualism when it comes to different sects of group. So now the Hebrews don't want to work with the Moors, you know what I'm saying? Or the Moors don't want to work with the Pan-Africanism. The Pan-Africanism don't want to work with the Christians. The Christians don't want to work with the Arabs, right? So it has, and we're all suffering because at the end of the day, it don't matter what's going on. Those folks are not asking you when you going to the banks, when you going on the jobs, when you going into their institutions.
Yeah, they're not asking you none of that shit that's dividing us.
Right. So they're not asking you nothing. And we're going through the same thing. So if we understood the ideal of unifying for one common goal, you know what I'm saying, you know, socially, politically, and economically, and we begin to sit down at the table and start to hash out some of these things. Okay, your beliefs is your beliefs. You leave that at the house. When we get together, I'm going to leave what I got at the house or what I believe in or what I practice. And we come together and we talk about the issue that is affecting us on a whole, us on a whole. Then we strategize and we plan on what are we going to attack first. We're going to attack the social issues first, or we're going to attack the political issues first, or we're going to attack the economic issues first. You know what I'm saying? So we need to strategize and see. One thing, you know, I can say about the Europeans is they didn't like each other. When you go through the historical record and right.
Yeah, I already know.
Right. So you understand. So they understand that they have to unify in order to for the greater good of them all, right?
Right.
You know, but we can't do that. They'll
stay on that. I hate to use Tariq's word, but they'll stay on code.
Yeah. So, you know, so until people understand that ideal, no matter, you know, until they understand that ideal and that concept and that ideology, you know what I'm saying, we're going to forever be separate. We're going to forever be arguing about the issues that we're going through, and we're never going to be able to fix them because this person or this group don't want to work with this group. This group here don't want to work with this group. You know what I'm saying? We don't have to like each other, but when we need to come together, hey, it ain't about our views or our beliefs at this moment. It's about us making a better way for ourselves, or if not a better way for ourselves, but a better way for the next generation and the generation after that. We shouldn't have to keep going through the continuous cycle of going through hell. You know what I'm saying? You know, so you know, African.
No, you're right, because then you made a point about, you know, religion, as far as like that's what Malcolm said, man, leave your religion at home, you know, and that's why. Not only did he have the, you know, Organization of Afro-American Unity, but, you know, he had his religious organization, Muslim Mosque Incorporated, as well, because we got to, you know, even in that same speech, he talked about we won't get anything accomplished if we start debating religion. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's personal, and it's between you and whatever you subscribe to, right? It ain't nothing to debate about, right? But Brother Kofi, man, I appreciate you for coming on the book Africa's Hair. Where can everybody get it?
Man, Same Tree Different Branch Publishing. Go to www.sametreedifferentbranch publishing. Every week is going to be uploaded to a different market: Amazon, Barnes and Noble, Target, Books A Million, etc., etc. But to support me, you go to my website. If you want to support me, don't go to those other markets. Go to www.sametreedifferentbranchpublishing.com to get Africans Hair Before, During, and After Slavery, or any other books that I wrote, or any other books that the groups that I belong to wrote, or we wrote collectively, or we wrote individually, is on Same Tree Different Branch Publishing. That is my publishing company. I also publish books as well. But, you know, again, for the listening audience, always patronize the author directly. If he don't have any books to sell, then you go to the other markets and buy it to support him. But I want all my intellectual property. You know what I'm saying? So I want my money. You get, because a lot of times they have to wait to get their money, and then it's a 60-40 split. 60 their way, 40 their way, or a 70-30 split. I want all my money for my intellectual property. So patronize the author directly.
Yep, and I will. The link will be in the description. Once again, Kofi Piesie, man. Everybody go subscribe to the YouTube channel as well. Kofi Piesie TV. Great content on there. Man,
go to Mossy too. Tell them.
Oh yeah, and go to Mossy Warrior Clan YouTube channel as well. Yeah, man. Support. The brothers out here doing great work. Again, I appreciate you for coming on, bro.
All right, man. Appreciate you, man, for having me, man.
Anytime, man. It's first of many. We're gonna run it back.
Oh, most definitely.
All right, peace.
Peace.